Good morning from Western Australia. I've got, don't know how long, quite a bit, because it's not giving me warnings to shut up. It's currently just gone 3 a.m. where I'm in Western Australia, and I'm in an accessible room in a little hoey moey on the side of the Albany Highway. I was in a place called Williams, but I moved on yesterday finally after glory 5 nights, I believe. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning. 5 nights. I've moved on. And I'm going to get this off my chest and then I'm going to sit down and watch the game. In 1994, I was in Europe with my then wife, and we were in a supermarket in France, and my then lovely wife was taking so much time going down the aisles, picking this up, looking at that, and I was starting to get really tetchy, saying, can we get what we need to get and get out of here? And she said, I just want to see what they've got. And we were in that supermarket for about half an hour. And at some point I've just gotten really prickly and said, look, we only came in here for a few things. Why are we still here? And she said, I just want to see what they've got. I said, it's a supermarket. They've got stuff. And yes, it's France. And yes, the food's different and the labels are different and what they've got's different. And she said, yeah, but it's different. I want to see what they've got. And I said, yeah, but I remember this distinctly, pointing out to the road and saying, yeah, but France is out there. Can't we get out there? I wasn't using that accent, by the way. It's more like, France is out there. Can we just go? And we did eventually. And we had an amazing 4 months in Europe. But at various times I had to say, Greece is out there. Austria's out there. Can we please get out there? And that 32 years ago has been my life ever since, that I want to get out there. Now, on the first day of the World Cup, so we're talking back in middle of June, it's currently middle of July, so middle of June, I fully intended to sit on my fat ass day in, day out and scope my days and sculpt my days such that I could be sat watching every single game of an amazing tournament for me. Not for all tastes, but for me. And I didn't, because something in the universe said, get yourself up to Brisbane, go to Brisbane. That's where your son is, go up to Brisbane. And that was the 17th of May, and I've rarely sat down since. Very rarely have I sat down. And I should sit down because I've got a propensity to DVT, and I've got myoclonus and tinnitus and crepitus and a whole bunch of things. I've also got a skin disorder on my forehead, which I've been trying to get fixed. And every time I try and do something to help myself, I end up trying to help somebody else. And I've had an amazing time. I've met some incredible people. I have done so many thousand miles. And yes, if you wanted to, you could say, oh, geez, aren't you a sort of a bit of a greenie? What's your carbon footprint like, hey? Aren't you always banging on about climate change? And aren't you always sort of saying you should be doing this and you should be doing that? I try and do things to bring myself some joy, and I have had some joy. And if you ever drive through Williams, and many of my muckers from Perth and Albany have, but as it happened on 8 o'clock on Friday morning, the 10th of July, I tumbled out of a car and said to the driver, when I say the driver, people say, driver? What are you? You've just been driven around. You've been chauffeured? No. One of this country's finest musicians was driving me down from Perth down to Albany. And at 8 o'clock, because of my trauma in my background, multiple traumas as it turns out, I couldn't stay in that car. Not his fault, not my fault. It's just the mixing of the two didn't work out for me. It dredged up from my background. Yeah, 11 years old as a kiddie, being smacked in the hip by a Range Rover with bull bars and nearly dying on Antill Street, just outside the back of what's now, was then and still is, the beautiful brutalist building that is the Dixon Library. And yes, there's a set of traffic lights there. And yes, I will go and sign the bottom of them because I'm one of a couple of people for whom they said, we better change this pedestrian crossing into a set of lights. Outside 55 Antill Street in Dixon, as I said, at the back of the Dixon Library. I've told that story a lot of times. Monday, the 24th of October, 1977, roughly 7 p.m. And I was hit and I was flung. And I did nearly cry, mostly because when I got to accident and emergency, they cut off my beautiful hang tang sweater. And I went, don't cut off my sweater. Man, you're nearly dead. You're going to be in hospital for 2.5 weeks with your leg straight out and weights over the bottom of the bed so that we can stretch your leg out. And luckily you're 11 and you'll get better. And I have gotten better. I climbed Himalayan mountains and ran city to surfs and climbed all sorts of structures in Europe and England and United States of America and Papua New Guinea and places like that. Climbed up to the top of a mountain that ended up blowing up and wiping out Rabaul, the capital then of East New Britain province, such that I think the capital is still at Kokopo. So I've had a life, and I don't live with regrets, and I don't look back on things and say, oh, I shoulda, coulda, would've. But I understand a little bit about myself. I've just been standing outside in the early morning hours looking up at the stars, which you can see here. You can't do it in Perth where I lived for glory. Call it, I don't know, 16, 18, call it 18 months for argument's sake. You can't see the stars in Perth because Perth and Fremantle, City of Light, and it's amazing. I used to stand on a Monday evening waiting for Frank to come and pick me up, and we'd go and do a radio show for 2 hours. And I'd stand out there on the rise and I'd look around down to Myaree and back towards Fremantle, and then I could see up past the Canning Highway towards Perth, and the lights were blinding and the lights were on all the time and you couldn't see the stars. And I've just been outside looking up at the stars and thinking about a whole bunch of things. And at the moment I'm walking around barefoot, and I think it's about 1 or 2 degrees outside. And yes, I'm barefoot and I'm walking on a couple of old cleaning cloths. Why? Because I don't want to be leaving my dirty footprints all over this place. When I moved in here yesterday, way before check-in, the lovely cleaners said, oh look, I'll give you the key to room number 36, just be careful because the floors are still wet. I said, thank you very much. And I stood at that front door and I flung 2 bags worth of stuff onto the bed over there, and I was able to do it all without taking one step inside here. But by and by I thought, well, I need to go to the toilet before I leave. So that's when I started moving around. And when I got back here about, I don't know, 5 o'clock last night, 5:30, call it, having said, oh, I should just plant my bottom down here and watch the game on replay that I missed yesterday morning, I ended up watching the 30-minute highlights of France and Spain. The wrong team won for me, but, you know, congratulations to Spain. And then, and I'll wrap it up on this, I could have gone down to the pub up the road there. I knew that there was a lovely little pub, but unfortunately on Wednesday nights in this little, it's got a couple of names, but I'll just call it Kickatinalong. At the Kickatinalong pub on a Wednesday evening, I think it kicks off at 6:30. They pull down the blinds and they make it well known that if you're in the pub, if you want to sit out in there, that's fine. But if you want to come in here, the girls are going to start stripping down to their lingerie. And then by and by, who knows, I don't know because I wasn't there, they're going to start taking their tops off and serving you beers, and you might pay a bit extra to have breasts wobbled in your face. It happens in cities, in towns, all around Australia. And look, I understand for some that that's a thing. And don't get me wrong, I am a red hot-blooded heterosexual, but I don't want to be... And I've been to it in Burleigh Waters once. A mate of mine said, oh, I'm doing security, come down and have a beer. Next thing I know, the lovely woman who'd been serving me beers and I'd been chatting with before, she suddenly turned up at my side and she was wearing fishnet stockings, see-through G-string, and she was almost wearing a top, and later the top went off. And I stayed because I was with my mate and he was my lift back, and it's not my thing to be around that sort of undress for women who are basically physically, biologically able to be my daughters. Even if they weren't, even if they're a couple of years older than me, I reckon if you want to present yourself that way and you get a good, put this, as it turned out, we shared a taxi ride with this woman later, And I had a great chat to her about education and about her degree and about how she was putting herself through school by serving behind the bar, but also on Wednesday nights doing the, getting her tits out, basically. Now, if you want to do that and you own that and you're proud of that and you can keep yourself safe, and she did, because the organisation had ways and means of keeping these people safe, do it. I'm just not going to engage with it. So there was a bunch of tradies, and all up and down this row of dongers they are, basically. There are people, there are tradies, there's geologists, there's contractors, all sorts. And there was a bunch of Aussies, and I could have gone down and slipped into, "G'day mate, how you going? Oh yeah, I'm Billy, how you doing? Oh yeah, I was going to fire up the barbie. Oh mate, we're just preloading, we're just having a few drinks, and then we're going to get up to the Kickatunalong Hotel, and we're going to, come up with us." And I go, you have a nice time. I'm going to go and watch some cycling and get an early night, because Spain and Argentina are kicking off at 3 a.m. Oh, is that the soccer, is it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I'm going to stop talking now and watch the soccer. It's not noble. I just believe, for me, that you get to a certain age and you say, I know my motivations, and why am I still wearing my hat? No wonder I'm cooking. I know myself, and I know the things that make me whole again. Oh, what's that? I can make you whole again. And there's don't tell me I'm going to get to it organically, but, what is it? Everybody's running from something or running to something. And I have been running now for decades. And I understand things. And sometimes I try to do things to ease my troubled mind. And I moved into this accessible room. And at the moment, I'm crouched a little bit over on my right-hand side, because on the plane the other day, on the plane they say things like, if you drop something between your seats, don't pick it up, ask one of the staff to come and help. And I was getting off the plane, so I was coming to the end of the flight, and I'll be honest, I'm going to give some very, very professional pointed feedback to Virgin Australia, but it was horrible. What looked like a fantastic, and I paid extra for an economy X seat, so I had a bit of extra leg room, and the staff appeared on the surface to be professional. What they really were condescending know-it-alls. Because even though I'd said I've been travelling for 40 years, I used to be in the industry, I know well enough. I'm going to go into that bathroom, and yes, I'm going to tell you that somebody has pissed all over the floor, that somebody has gone in there, dropped a load of steaming turds in the toilet, and it smells like a sewerage in there. I happen to have some hand sanitizer. I happen to be an ex-cleaner, a domestic and industrial cleaner. I cleaned the whole place up. I said, but I couldn't get all the piss up, so you might want to do something. And they went in there with the spray and with the whatever, because they're used to that. And I got this really condescending, this. I said, I'm going to stop you there, Persephone. Whatever you're about to say, again, 40 years travelling. Oh, sorry, no, what about 10 now? Call it 50 years travelling, minus a couple of years. Ex-industry, gold member, as in I'm travel so much that I've got gold member status. I could ask for all these benefits and things. I don't do the priority check-in. I'm typically last on the plane and last one off. And as I went to get off, I saw something on the ground, bent to pick it up. And I don't think I've given myself a hernia, but I've certainly strained all down this side. And last night, because of this accessible room, it's now straining away. This is an accessible room. And that shower, unfortunately, it's either scaldingly hot or it's freezing cold. So, this looks like a bit of a shit show, but I just travel with some stuff. I can take this on the plane, but only in carry-on. If you're going to speak to somebody like a school teacher or a parent of 3, maybe front-facing customer service is not for you. Maybe get a job in the back room or get a shitload of professional development. And as I said in a post on one of my other pages, I will hold you to account. Because if you do, and I'm thinking of a certain French multinational accommodation provider that has got hundreds of properties under various names, and they are very proud, and they have these posters up on the walls saying, "We do amazing things with customer service," and it's all in English, but the original would all be in French. "We value you, and then I just say to them, do you? Those amazing words, and on the coffee table booklet and on the screens when I walk into the room, does that marry up with the woman behind the bar who's shouting at customers for asking very, very simple, meek, mild questions in possibly their third language, and you bark at them because no, I'm not making this bit up. No, we open at 7. You can get a buffet breakfast until 10:30. We stop the buffet at 10:30. You can still get a la carte until 11, but between 11 and 11:30, there's nothing available except for coffee because the chef, the cook, is on a half-hour break. At 11:30, you can do this, but the lunch menu doesn't start till 12. And I said, and how am I supposed to know that? Well, it's written down. Where is it written down? Well, if you scan the QR code, it's all there. And I said, but when I scan the QR code, it tells me don't do that because it's not a secure connection. And when I say, no, it's okay, I'll push through, my devices say, no, we're going to protect you and not let you through. So there's that. Well, yeah, but that's what we do here. Right. And I used to be in the accommodation industry for 3 years, 25,000 people in 3 companies, and I was not the account manager, but I was one level down, and I used to travel around and talk to people about using the system to access accommodation, to access travel. So I've got that in my background. I also am a native Australian English speaker. I also speak another few languages. If I can't work it out, what about the people who come in here who I've been speaking with, who for whom English is their 4th language, who can't understand your thick accent, either, oh, here you go, oh, no, breakfast is only till 10:30, you can get the buffet, or it's thickly in a beautiful accent from somewhere else. Now, that's okay, because if I can understand you or we can find some way to connect, that's gravy. But if you're going to start getting condescending about the fact that no, and by, not because I sought her out, she sought me out, the general manager of the whole property, and it's a huge property with multiple businesses in it, she sought me out, and she and the duty manager walked up and said, "What's wrong? What's happening?" And I said, "Do you know what? I don't even want to get into it." In the end, I did get into it for half an hour, until such point in time as they sat down. Well, one of them sat down because they said, "Oh, why don't we sit down?" I said, "If I sit down, one of 2 things is going to happen. My legs are going to blow up, or I'm going to fall asleep because I've got to stay standing just for a little bit longer. And then I'll get up to my room and I'll get horizontal and I'll sleep the afternoon away and get up and watch the evening news or something." But I said, right now, and I did get into it for half an hour, and by the time I'd finished giving my feedback after half an hour, I was spent. And it's not my job. It's in my background. I've got the skills, the qualifications, the experience to go through there and give them not a 14-point Pettis check. I could give them a 460-point check of so many things. And I gave her 3 dot points, and one of them I asked an open question, and she said, "No, we don't get many Korean people here." Good. I said, "Well, that answers that question. Thank you. I'm glad to know that." But the other 2, I left her walking away thinking, we do have those posters on the wall. And he's made that point about consistency of services such that I walk from the reception past a cafe out to their main restaurant area, and already I've got about 5 inconsistencies. And I told her something about that setup of the 7 o'clock start, the 10:30 stop, the a la carte between 10:30 and 11, the stop at 11, the break between 11:30 and midday, and the new one. She did not know that. She's the general manager. And I smiled sweetly, and I didn't say, "Well, maybe if you're manager, it might be worth your knowing." Hopefully she'll come to her own realisation, and I'm not going to follow it up. I said to her, "You take that away," and because of certain things that happened after that, it got so much worse that I will do some very, very, very pointed, full feedback. But do you know what? I'm not going to do too much, because if they want to, they can send me a tax invoice and I'll consult. From Kikatinalong on the Albany Highway, somewhere south of Williams and north of Albany, somewhere south of, I don't know the full name of it, I've got it on a picture here, because along Williams, if you go to Williams, they go, it's a beautiful town, beautiful people, amazing businesses, the Williams District Club, of which I'm a member, the post office where I've now got a PO box, the sports ground, the area around the river, the 3 service stations, which are fantastic. The bakery's weird. I was in there yesterday. I walked in at 20 to 3 and they closed at 4, and I said, oh, okay, can I get a toastie and a cup of coffee? Oh no, coffee's finished. I'm sorry, 20 to 3 and you close at 4 and the coffee machines are off. Oh yeah, we've been really short staffed. Well, that I understand, but unfortunately I'm not tuned into the psychic network. So I didn't know that. Maybe, just maybe, up on the wall outside, you don't have your opening hours. Now I get that, because it's like if there's enough people, you might stay open until the advertised time. But you're open till 4, maybe put up a sign that says open till 4 or earlier if we're not busy. If you don't have coffee, maybe a little sign on the front that says no coffee after 2:30, because it was 20 to 3 and they close at 4, no coffee. Oh, okay. And even at 20 to 3 when they close at 4, they put all the chairs up on the table. And they left about 2 or 3, and I didn't feel like sticking around. I was going to have my coffee and my toastie and sit there for maybe half an hour and leave with plenty of time until they shut. But no. I just, the staff woman who served me, she was pleasant enough, but manager woman just gave her whole demeanour was, look, we're short-staffed, can you get your food? You can't get your coffee, can you just get it and fuck off? Now I'm paraphrasing, and that was definitely not what she said, definitely not, but that was the way that I inferred it. So I didn't hang around, and another couple was standing next to me, and they'd been standing there for a long time, waiting for their takeaway. That's all they wanted was takeaway. They might have wanted to sit there, I don't know. But they were travelling up or down the highway, I'm not sure, can't remember. Had a lovely chat with the bloke, Aussie, but he had a Stoke-on-Trent t-shirt, and we spoke about Stoke-on-Trent. We talked about mining. We talked about travelling to England and all this sort of stuff, all in the space of about 3 minutes. And they've been waiting for a long time, and the woman, his partner, was getting really tetchy. Didn't even want, I'm going to call him Barry, to talk with me for too long, because once they got their toastie, they wanted to be out the door. And I gave them that luxury. I said, oh, look, I'll let you go, which I don't usually like that expression, because I'll let you go pretty much is code for fuck off. So I stood there, and he just said to me at one point, he said, maybe they've only got one toaster, because they had been waiting for a long time. And there were exactly 4 people. There was those 2, me, and one other person came in, asked a question, got the answer, and said, oh, okay, well, that's a shame, and walked out again. Businesses, if you want a bellyache about not having enough staff and not having enough customers and it's too hard in a small town, maybe, just maybe, have a look in the mirror. Maybe if you're a multinational, multi-global thing and your star rating is down to 4.1 because you keep getting these 1-star reviews from people, maybe look into that rather than saying, oh, there's just no pleasing some people. We've got things on the wall that say that we value our clients. Yeah, here's a dirty little secret. If you're going to say that you value your clients, maybe put those posters down, maybe change your actions, maybe get some professional development. And this woman, I went up to ask a couple of simple questions in a massive, as I said, French multinational outlet in, I'm going to say in the greater Melbourne area. She wouldn't even look me in the eye. All I wanted to do was ask 2 or 3 simple questions, but in the end, she was mumbling, and I thought she was playing on a phone, but she was apparently doing her rosters. Okay, Persephone, put the fucking device down, look at the customer in the eye, let him have his simple questions, give him some straight answers, then you can go back to your phone and do your rosters. Why are you doing your rosters on a phone, for fuck's sake? Anyway, I thought she was on Snapchat or GoPro or friggin' Top Tick or Candy Crush soliloquy or something. I don't know. That's the way that she was giving it out. And I actually said that to her later when it all got a bit heated. And I said, maybe just get off the phone and talk to the customers when they ask questions. And I said, I went to the duty manager and I said, I think she might need a HR check. She might need a welfare check. She said, unbidden from me, she said that she'd just come back from 5 weeks away and she gave all the signs of being in trauma or upset or something. And I have paid for it in spades of going to work or going in to do things in overhead productions when I've been sick. I have lost so many jobs by going to work sick when what I should have done was just said, I've got a medical certificate, I'll see you in a week or so. Some of that leave might have to be unpaid because I've just joined the organisation. I lost a job at NPS Medicine Wise. They don't exist anymore. And when I found that out a couple of weeks ago, I thought, well, that does not surprise me at all. Because my manager, whose job I could have done plus mine with one arm tied behind my back while balancing a ball on my head and singing Glory Hallelujah, she recruited me and I busted my gut with that job, but I went to work sick and I got delayed down the coast seeing my kids because an amazing storm whipped up around Bateman's Bay. 100 kilometre an hour winds delayed my return, and I hadn't filed some results from a road trip I'd done. And for that reason, she hauled me in, and the look on the HR woman's face. So it was my manager, me, and a HR person. And about halfway through the conversation, my exit, like, we're going to let you go. We'll let you go. And yes, we'll pay you out for this bit. And then you can go away from your $80,000 a year job, plus benefits and salary packaging that took it up to $96,000 in a global financial crisis. We're going to let you go. And the HR woman had this look in her eyes like, oh my God, either A, we've done the wrong thing by this bloke, or B, this is a lawsuit just waiting to happen. Except that I was on probation and they can do what they fucking like. And I could have gone for unfair dismissal and I would have lost, because with a probationer, you can abuse them as much as you like. And some people, unfortunately, bad actors in this world will make use of that. I know organisations that put kids on at the lowest rate because, you know, I don't even know, I've lost track of it. I used to work in industrial relations and they used to have age rates that used to kick in at about 15 or something, and some bad actors would employ 15-year-olds, and as soon as they turn 17 or 18, thank you very much, Nigel, thank you, Guinevere, that's it, grab your cards, you're out the door, and they'll turn around and hire the next 15-year-old. It happens. Then you get other places that are so ethical that they will employ young people and they'll train them up and mentor them. And when that person says, oh, look, this has been a great job and I really value it and I'll keep coming back and recommending it and all that sort of stuff, but I've now been headhunted and I'm going to go down the road and work for that place and they're going to pay me a lot because I've got such a good reputation. Go with Grace, Emily. Go with Emily Grace. You have been valued, you've added value to our organisation, and please keep in touch and we'll give you a glowing reference and we will revel in your success. We do it in the music industry. I've seen 17-year-olds sitting on plastic chairs, mumbling into a microphone, playing the guitar, who are now award-winning, tour the world, sold-out shows from Alaska down to, you know, Argentina, and across to Europe and all around Australia and New Zealand and places like that. And you revel in their success, and they say, oh, I'll never forget my roots, but I feel bad because I can't even go to that festival anymore because it's just not worth my... I mean, I'd love to if I can. I'll add it, like pop in do a couple of sets, but I've got to be up the road because I've got a sold-out show at the theatre, and then I'm onto the plane because my European tour starts. We love that. We revel in success. If you pump people's tyres up and you revel in their success and you hold them up, then I think that's a mighty fine thing. More soon. My name's Bill Quinn. I'm from Overhead Productions. It's currently 0-0 and it's 34 minutes. So we'll see how this goes. Come on, Argentina. Bye for now.